All right, we're in the Bryan CMA report, and we're going to take a look at what are some of these other buttons. What are they for? Okay, revised search criteria, you can hide this. We've already gone through how to adjust this, right? We've already gone through that training. So you might say, well, what are these letters for? Let's say this is your favorite property. You love this comp and you want to be able to show it to your buyer or your seller. This is your favorite property. You also know, as you're searching through these, this one here is a distressed sale. This becomes a little cheat sheet for you, if you will. It tells you something about the property. For example, the subject paid $310,000 in 1999. This person paid $349,000 within 3 months of them. I would say this property is superior to the subject. Again, this is simply a cheat sheet for you as you're making this presentation, because you might run the data but not have the presentation for a few days if the seller had to reschedule. Or you're showing this to a buyer and you want to know which properties are superior or inferior to the subject, because in the end, that's what every appraisal is about. Properties are superior or inferior because houses just are not the same. So one's better or one's worse. So these 5 letters essentially are: the house is vacant. You want to notate it if you're showing buyers' homes. If you think the property is distressed. If you think the property is inferior. If this is your favorite property to show. It's simply a cheat sheet for you when you're at the kitchen table. You're demonstrating this to a seller. It'll help you remember some information about the property. And of course, you get to see here the price square foot was $123 back in 1999, and now it's $110 on this property. But we can see seller on these other ones, it started at $69 a square foot back in 99, and now it's up to $95 a square foot. These people paid $129 a square foot in 99. They re-got $158, resold for that. One of the reasons we want sellers to see this is look at this pattern. Price per square foot, people who bought within months of each other in the same area, but the price per square foot is really all over the place. Here nor there. That's what these letters are for. Vacant, distressed, the property you think is inferior to the subject, or superior, or it's your favorite. And then what happens is when you click on these records, these things become lit up over here. So when you print these MLS printouts, and you're going to see as we go back to the Bryan report, that record only has these, right? So you can interact with your MLS record, which we call a smart report. We'll study that in a moment. Again, we'll interact with those, and you can see that that's what it lights up. You might say, well, what's the star for? You can see it. It's there. That way you're indicating you want this record to print. Right here, you can see little cheat sheets here tell you what these properties are. Doing an analysis is extremely helpful. What you're trying to determine as you mark these things, reviewing the MLS printouts, as you mark these things, it's actually marking them for you on the CMA report. That way, when you go to present it, you know which properties are your favorites, superior, inferior, what have you. And of course, we showed you over here. Starring it simply says you're going to print it. Shortly here, you're going to print these reports. Okay? Starred reports, starred records, non-starred. These are properties you decided to include in an email to a client. All right? What those buttons are for, these are printing. A couple more things to cover here. This is, of course, the address of the subject property. And this is the subdivision name. All right, so the CMA report gives you address, subdivision name, bedrooms, bath, square footage. Bedrooms, baths, square footage was not indicated on this record. All right. The reason this record is italicized and this 2078 is not italicized, it simply tells us This property is bigger than the subject. You can see this one's smaller than the subject. Simply by looking at your CMA report, you can see if a house is smaller or larger than the subject. The reason these are in bold, the three baths, is because that's exactly what the subject property has. So when you're doing comps as a buyer's agent or a listing agent trying to figure out a value of a property, even on your CMA report, we're actually highlighting properties that have things that are similar to the subject. There's a 3-bath, just like the subject. Here's a 3-bath. These are 4, which is why they're not bold. And you can probably tell by now, these properties, 4 bedrooms, meaning the subject property has 4 bedrooms. So again, we're helping you on the CMA report quickly identify style-based match. These are all about Bryan comps over here, because they were bought around the same date, same price, same area. These are about style-based comps. If we know that the bedrooms and baths are the same, we're going to highlight them. If we know the square footage is larger, we're going to notate that for you. You'll get to notate if they're your favorite or inferior or superior properties. You get, of course, to see the average rate of return attempted. And as we go back up the screen here, you get to see how far they are from the subject, what city that they're in. All right. All in the CMA report. The style of the home is the subject is a ranch atrium, which is why, again, this is bold. All right. And you can see the 2 stories are not bolded. If the property is within 1 mile of the subject, we automatically highlight in blue for you. We're really trying to use the CMA report to flag these properties to bring to your attention. This property has enough in common with it. We've actually thrown a flag literally out there to show it to you as a good comp in this selection. Another property here, again, there's enough in common with this property and the subject, we flagged it for you. Let's go ahead and take a look at this property. And let's see. We're going to look at this box here, and we're calling it a style-based match comp because it's a lot of similarities. What we show you is not only the property square footage of 2288, we show you as compared to the subject, is it bigger or smaller? So again, the 2288 is this record, and it's negative 36 on the, it's smaller than the subject property by 1.6%. Then we have the taxes on this property are $4,918. However, on the subject property, there's 767 more. In other words, the subject is 15% higher in their taxes. Its lot size is an 8% differential. This property is actually 4 years newer than the subject property. And this is about the association fee that's listed. So not only, again, do we give you what this record is, we compare it to the subject property. Let's take a look at another record in here. All right, and we can see the square foot differential, the age, and all those different things. All righty. A couple other things before we wrap up reviewing the CMA report, and then we'll get into the smart record here, is we're going to look at one more column. That's, of course, the days in the market column and the age of the property. All right. And you just saw in that last report, we also look at the age and show you the differential between the age of the subject and the age of each of these records. We look at the square footage and we tell you the difference. We look at the taxes and we tell you the difference. We look at the lot size and we tell you the difference, who's larger, who's smaller. And we also show from the original list price, in this case $354,900, to the final, these are sold properties. It dropped. Obviously, a price adjustment happened in here once because they only negotiated finally $10,400 off. So we're showing you original list price and final list price, right? And then you can see the sold price. So you can see again, they started here. Let's see, let's find this one here. Looking for one where they dropped their price. Yeah, okay, they started here at $459,000, dropped $65,000 to $418,000, and then they dropped another $23,000 to sell for $395,000. Again, one more time, they started at about $460,000, they dropped it $65,000 before they finally sold, but their final list price was $418,000, which was $23,000 more negotiations to get to 3.95. But in the end, they got 1.73% rate of return, and we projected in that area the growth was actually 1.7. Again, this is sometimes just amazing, the coincidences to say that the software is that good at helping project the values. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop and start a new video to cover the smart record.